Right now, as you watch this video, a signal could be crossing the galaxy toward Earth. It left its home star 50,000 years ago. Nobody sent it to you. Nobody even knows we exist. And here's the strange part. Even if that signal arrives tonight, we might not notice it. We might not even know how to look for it. So let me ask you something before we go any further. If the universe is this big, why does it feel this empty? Stay with me, because the answer is stranger than aliens don't exist. Let's start with scale, because you need to feel it, not just hear it. The Milky Way alone holds somewhere between 100 and 400 billion stars. Thanks to the Gaia Space Telescope, we're not guessing anymore. By 2025, Gaia had logged over 3 trillion precise observations of roughly 2 billion of those stars. This is the most accurate star map humans have ever built. Now zoom out. Beyond our galaxy? For years, scientists estimated 2 trillion galaxies in the observable universe. But newer data from the New Horizons spacecraft pushed that number down to something closer to a few 100 billion galaxies. Still, even after cutting that number down, you're left with an almost unusable amount of real estate. Billions of stars. Billions of Earth-like candidates in the habitable zone. And the chemistry of life? Not rare at all. Carbon, water, amino acids, pull. We found them in comets, in meteorites, floating in interstellar dust. Life's ingredients seem to be everywhere. So here's the question that should be bothering you. With all this raw material, why haven't we found a single confirmed signal, a single trace? Maybe the problem isn't that nobody's out there. Maybe the problem is us. We've been scanning the sky for radio signals since the 1960s. But think about your own life for a second, Head. When's the last time you sent someone a message using radio waves? We've moved on to fiber optics, lasers, tight beam communication. A civilization even a few centuries ahead of us might have abandoned radio completely, the same way we abandoned smoke signals. And here's something new that changes the whole picture. A 2026 study proposed what researchers are calling the quiet expansion filter. The idea is this: once a civilization builds advanced, self-replicating AI systems, its growth stops looking like a bright, loud empire spreading light and noise across the galaxy. Instead, it becomes quiet, efficient, almost invisible. Machines expanding without waste, without broadcasting, without needing to announce themselves at all. In other words, maybe the smartest civilizations aren't silent because they're gone. They're silent because loud was never necessary in the first place. Sit with that for a second. What if the absence of noise isn't evidence of absence? What if it's evidence of a kind of intelligence we haven't learned to detect yet? Here's another piece nobody talks about enough: timing. A technological civilization capable of sending any signal might only last a few thousand years, maybe less. Compress the entire 12 billion-year history of the Milky Way into a single calendar year. And a civilization like ours would flash for less time than it takes to read this sentence. Now imagine two civilizations, each flashing briefly, somewhere on opposite sides of a galaxy 100,000 light-years wide. Even a signal moving at the speed of light takes tens of thousands of years to cross that distance. So even if we shout, the reply, if there is one, hi, might not arrive until long after we're gone. It's not that no one is talking, it's that everyone might be talking at slightly the wrong moment. But if it's not timing, then what is it? This brings us to the theory that keeps scientists up at night: the Great Filter. The idea is simple, but terrifying. Somewhere along the road from lifeless rock to civilization, spreading among the stars, the real question isn't whether the filter exists. It's whether we've already passed it, or whether it's still ahead of us. If the filter is behind us, that's good news. It means very few civilizations ever make it as far as we have. And we're already through the hardest part. But if the filter is ahead of us, every star we see, every habitable planet we count, might just be a countdown clock. Nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
Runaway climate change.
Yeah.
Artificial intelligence we don't fully understand yet. Maybe this, right now, this century, is the exact moment almost every civilization fails. Which one do you think it is? Genuinely today. Pause for a second and pick a side. Because your answer says something about how you see the next 100 years of human history. Here's the twist that makes this whole mystery feel a little less lonely. The universe is 13.8 billion years old. That sounds ancient, But most of the stars that will ever exist haven't even been born yet. Red dwarf stars, or the most common type in the universe press, can burn steadily for trillions of years. Our own sun will die in about 5 billion years, and some of these smaller stars will still be shining 1,000 times longer than that. So if you laid out the entire timeline during which life could ever appear in the universe, we're not standing near the end. We're barely past the starting line. Maybe nobody's late to the conversation. Maybe we're some of the first ones to show up to the party. There's a quieter, almost humbling possibility too. Even an advanced civilization doesn't have unlimited attention. Picture an anthill at the edge of a massive forest. Inside, there's structure, cooperation, something you could even call intelligence. But nobody walking through that forest stops to study one particular hill. Not out of arrogance, Pai, just because there's too much else going on. Maybe that's us. One planet, among billions, hosting a civilization that's only a few thousand years old. Interesting, sure. But maybe not a priority. Maybe we're on the list, but just not near the top of it. Here's where recent research adds a real twist to this story. For decades, we imagined advanced aliens as almost godlike. Dyson spheres around entire stars, faster than light travel, energy on a scale we can't even picture. But a 2025 paper suggested something more grounded, something researchers called the mundane explanation. What if there's a hard ceiling on technology? What if even the most advanced civilizations are still bound by the same basic physics we are? No shortcuts, no magic, just very good engineering. If that's true, even a civilization thousands of years ahead of us might still look surprisingly familiar, not godlike. Just further along the same road we're on. And a separate 2024 study made a point that's easy to miss. The Fermi Paradox might not be a physics problem at all. It might be a behavior problem. What if civilizations, once they reach a certain point, simply choose not to expand? Not because they can't, Pam, but because they don't want to. Maybe growth for its own sake isn't the natural endpoint of intelligence. Maybe it's a very human assumption we've been projecting onto the entire universe. Let that sink in for a second. What if the aliens are out there, capable of reaching us pawkin', and they've just decided it's not worth it? And then there's the darkest possibility. Maybe we really are alone. Not because life itself is rare. The chemistry for that seems to be everywhere. But because the jump from simple life to complex, intelligent life might be almost unbelievably rare. On Earth, it took over 3 billion years for simple, single-celled organisms to become anything resembling a complex creature. And the step that made it possible wasn't some grand design. It was an accident. Over 2 billion years ago, one cell absorbed another instead of digesting it, and that single event gave rise to complex cells. Without it, no plants, no animals, no you watching this video and wondering why the universe feels so quiet. Maybe that's the real filter. Not war, not asteroids, not runaway AI, just the sheer improbability of one cell accidentally swallowing another cell in exactly the right way at exactly the right time. So go back to that signal I mentioned at the start, Tround, the one that might be crossing space toward us right now. Sent 50,000 years ago by someone who has no idea we exist. Maybe it's real, and we just don't have the right tools to catch it yet. Maybe it was sent by a civilization so quiet, so efficient, that it never needed to shout in the first place. Or maybe there was never any signal at all, Brav. Because in 13.8 billion years, across hundreds of billions of galaxies, the accident that made us might have only happened once. The universe isn't empty. Empty would mean nothing's there. The silence here is profound. It's a silence that suggests a watchful waiting. This is quiet, and quiet means something might still be listening. So, which explanation do you believe? Drop it in the comments, because I genuinely want to know what you think happens next.